Welcome to this calm exploration of one of the most fascinating phenomena to emerge from the internet age. A curious experience that has captured the attention of millions of people around the world who suddenly realized that their memories did not match the reality they were living in. Tonight, we will gently explore the Mandela effect, a phenomenon where large groups of people remember events, facts, or details differently from how they actually occurred or exist in our current reality. This is not a journey to convince you of hidden truths or alternate realities, but rather a peaceful examination of how human memory works, how collective false memories form, and why so many people have found themselves questioning the very nature of their recollections. So settle in, relax, and let us take a slow, methodical look at this intriguing subject that sits at the intersection of psychology, memory science, and popular culture. The term Mandela effect itself is relatively new, coined only in the early 21st century, but the experiences it describes have likely been occurring for as long as humans have been forming and sharing memories. The phenomenon takes its name from a specific false memory that many people reported having, a memory that turned out to be incorrect but was shared by surprisingly large numbers of individuals. Before we delve into the specific origins of the term, it is worth understanding that human memory has always been imperfect, malleable, and subject to distortion. Our brains do not record experiences like video cameras, preserving perfect replicas of events as they unfold. Instead, memory is a reconstructive process, one where our minds piece together fragments of actual experiences, emotions, expectations, and even information we learned after the fact. Each time we recall a memory, we are essentially rebuilding it from these components, and in doing so, we risk introducing small errors, alterations, or complete fabrications that feel entirely real to us. Throughout history, there have been countless examples of people misremembering historical events, misquoting famous phrases, or incorrectly recalling details from their own lives. What makes the Mandela effect particularly interesting is not that these false memories exist, but that they are shared by large groups of people who have never met and who often live in different parts of the world. This collective aspect of the phenomenon has led some to propose extraordinary explanations, while others point to well-understood psychological principles that can account for why groups of people might remember the same incorrect information. As we explore this topic tonight, we will examine both perspectives with equal care and attention, allowing you to draw your own conclusions about what might be occurring. The story of how the Mandela effect received its name begins in South Africa during the apartheid era, a dark period of institutionalized racial segregation and oppression that lasted from 1948 until the early 1990s. Nelson Mandela was a prominent anti-apartheid revolutionary and political leader who became a symbol of resistance and hope for millions of people around the world. In 1964, Mandela was arrested and subsequently sentenced to life imprisonment for his activities against the apartheid government. He spent the next 27 years in prison, much of it on Robben Island, where conditions were harsh and prisoners were subjected to hard labor and mistreatment. During his imprisonment, Mandela became an international symbol of the fight against apartheid, and calls for his release grew louder as the years passed and pressure mounted on the South African government. In February of 1990, after years of negotiations and increasing international pressure, Nelson Mandela was finally released from prison. His release was a momentous occasion, broadcast around the world and witnessed by millions. Mandela went on to play a crucial role in the negotiations that ended apartheid, and in 1994, he became the first black president of South Africa in the country's first fully democratic elections. His presidency lasted until 1999, after which he retired from active politics but remained a beloved figure and elder statesman. Nelson Mandela continued to work on various humanitarian causes and remained in the public eye until his health began to decline in his later years. He passed away on December 5, 2013, at the age of 95, in his home in Johannesburg. His death was mourned around the world, and memorial services were held to honor his life and legacy. These are the documented historical facts surrounding Nelson Mandela's life, imprisonment, release, and eventual death. However, in the early 2000s, a woman named Fiona Broom began noticing something strange. Broom, who described herself as a paranormal consultant and researcher, attended a conference where she was discussing Nelson Mandela with other attendees. During this conversation, she mentioned her memory of Mandela dying in prison during the 1980s. To her surprise, several other people at the conference shared this same memory. They recalled news coverage of his death, his funeral, and even a speech given by his widow. These memories were vivid and detailed, yet they were completely inconsistent with documented reality. Mandela had not died in prison in the 1980s. He had been released, gone on to become president, and was still alive at the time of these conversations. Intrigued by this shared false memory, Fiona Broome began researching whether others had similar experiences. She created a website to document what she called the Mandela effect, a term she coined specifically to describe situations where large groups of people remember historical events or facts differently from how they actually occurred. Broome's website gained attention, and soon people from around the world began sharing their own experiences of misremembered facts and events that they were certain had been different. The phenomenon quickly spread across internet forums, social media platforms, and online communities dedicated to discussing these collective false memories. What had started as one woman's curious observation about a shared misremembering of Nelson Mandela's death had evolved into a widespread cultural phenomenon that continues to fascinate people to this day. Fiona Broome's website and subsequent writings proposed various explanations for the Mandela effect, some more conventional than others. While she acknowledged that simple misremembering could account for some instances, she also explored more speculative possibilities, including the idea that these collective false memories might be evidence of alternate realities or parallel universes. According to some versions of this theory, people who experience the Mandela effect might have somehow shifted from one reality to another, carrying with them memories that were accurate in their original universe but are incorrect in this one. Another proposed explanation involved the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, which suggests that every possible outcome of every event exists in its own separate universe. Some enthusiasts of the Mandela effect have suggested that these false memories are evidence of quantum shifts or timeline changes, though such explanations remain firmly in the realm of speculation and are not supported by scientific evidence. As the Mandela effect gained popularity online, people began documenting hundreds of examples of commonly misremembered facts, phrases, and details. These examples fell into several broad categories, including misremembered lines from movies, incorrect spelling or presentation of brand names, false memories of celebrity deaths, misquoted famous phrases, and incorrect geographical or anatomical facts. Each of these categories contains numerous specific examples that have been reported by large numbers of people, and examining these examples can help us understand both why the Mandela effect occurs and why it has captured the imagination of so many individuals. Let us explore some of the most commonly cited examples, taking our time to understand each one and to consider what might account for the widespread misremembering. One of the most famous examples of the Mandela effect involves a line from the movie Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, released in 1980. In a pivotal scene, the character Darth Vader reveals to Luke Skywalker that he is Luke's father. Many people remember this scene with Darth Vader saying the line, "Luke, I am your father." This supposed quotation has been referenced countless times in popular culture, parodied in television shows and movies, and repeated by Star Wars fans around the world. However, if you watch the actual scene from the movie, Darth Vader never says, "Luke, I am your father." The actual line is simply, "No, I am your father," spoken in response to Luke's statement that Vader killed his father. The name Luke does not appear in Vader's dialogue at all. Despite this fact, the misquoted version has become so widespread that even people who consider themselves serious Star Wars fans are often shocked when they learn the actual wording. Another frequently cited example involves the children's book series and television show known as the Berenstain Bears. This long-running series about a family of bears was created by Stan and Jan Berenstain in 1962 and has remained popular for decades, with numerous books, animated series, and merchandise. However, many people distinctly remember the name being spelled differently. These individuals recall the name as being spelled Berenstain Bears, with an EIN ending rather than an AIN ending. Some people report having clear memories of reading the spines of these books as children and seeing the Berenstain spelling. When confronted with the actual spelling, Berenstain, they express surprise and confusion, insisting that the spelling must have changed at some point. This particular example has become one of the most discussed instances of the Mandela effect, with some people suggesting that it represents evidence of a shift between parallel universes where the bear's name was spelled differently. The world of commercial brands and logos has provided numerous examples of the Mandela effect. One well-known case involves the Monopoly board game mascot, Rich Uncle Pennybags, often simply called the Monopoly Man. Many people remember this character as wearing a monocle, a single eyeglass that would fit with his image as a wealthy tycoon. However, the Monopoly Man has never worn a monocle in any official depiction. This false memory is so widespread that people often express disbelief when shown images of the character without this accessory. Some researchers suggest that this particular false memory might be the result of confusion with another famous character, Mr. Peanut, the mascot of Planters Peanuts, who does wear a monocle along with a top hat and cane. The similar visual presentation of both characters as wealthy, well-dressed figures might lead to a blending of their features in memory. Another brand-related example involves the Fruit of the Loom logo, which appears on clothing tags and packaging for this underwear and apparel company. Many people remember the logo as featuring a cornucopia, a horn-shaped container overflowing with fruits and vegetables, positioned behind the arrangement of fruits that appears in the logo. However, the Fruit of the Loom logo has never included a cornucopia in any of its various iterations throughout the company's history. The logo has always shown simply an arrangement of fruits, including an apple, grapes, and other produce, without any cornucopia behind them. This false memory is particularly interesting because people do not just vaguely recall a cornucopia being present. They often describe it in specific detail, remembering its color, position, and how the fruits were arranged in relation to it. The realm of famous phrases and quotations has also yielded several notable examples of the Mandela effect. One involves a line from the classic film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the 1937 Disney animated feature. Many people remember the evil queen saying, "Mirror, mirror on the wall," when addressing her magic mirror. This phrase has been repeated in various contexts and parodies over the years. However, in the actual film, the queen says, "Magic mirror on the wall." The phrase mirror, mirror never appears in the Disney version, though it is worth noting that the original fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm does use similar wording in some translations. This example illustrates how cultural repetition and reinterpretation can create false memories that feel more authentic than the actual source material. Another famous misquotation involves the line from the movie Forrest Gump, released in 1994. Many people remember Tom Hanks' character saying, "Life is like a box of chocolates," when in fact the actual line is, "Life was like a box of chocolates." The change from is to was seems minor, but it demonstrates how our memories can alter small details while retaining the overall meaning and sentiment of a phrase. Similarly, the famous quote often attributed to Darth Vader in Star Wars, which we discussed earlier, shows how dialogue can be misremembered in ways that seem to make more sense or provide more context, even though they do not match the actual words spoken. Some examples of the Mandela effect involve memories of events that never occurred, particularly celebrity deaths. In addition to the original example of Nelson Mandela supposedly dying in prison, various celebrities have been subject to false death memories. Some people clearly remember comedian Sinbad starring in a movie in the 1990s where he played a genie, often referred to as Shazam. They describe details of the plot, the appearance of the VHS cover, and specific scenes from the movie. However, no such movie exists. Sinbad never starred in a film where he played a genie. There was a movie called Kazam, released in 1996, starring basketball player Shaquille O'Neal as a genie, which might account for some of the confusion. Nevertheless, people who remember the Sinbad genie movie insist that it was distinct from Kazam and that their memories are real, creating one of the most perplexing examples of the Mandela effect. Geographical and anatomical misrememberings also form a category of Mandela effect examples. Some people remember New Zealand being positioned differently relative to Australia than it actually is, or remember the island nation of Sri Lanka being much further from India than it appears on current maps. Others recall the human stomach being positioned lower in the abdomen than anatomical diagrams show, or remember having more ribs than the standard 24. These examples are particularly interesting because they involve verifiable, objective facts that can be easily checked, yet people maintain that their memories show something different from current reality. The question naturally arises, why do these false memories occur, and why are they shared by so many people? To understand this, we must delve into the science of human memory and the various psychological principles that govern how we encode, store, and retrieve information. Human memory is far more complex and fallible than most people realize, and understanding its limitations can help explain why phenomena like the Mandela effect occur without needing to invoke alternate realities or supernatural explanations. Memory researchers have identified numerous factors that can contribute to the formation of false memories, and many of these factors are directly relevant to understanding the Mandela effect. One fundamental principle is that memory is reconstructive rather than reproductive. When we remember an event or piece of information, we do not simply retrieve a stored recording. Instead, our brains reconstruct the memory from various components, including sensory details, emotions, context, and information from related experiences. This reconstruction process is influenced by our current knowledge, beliefs, expectations, and even information we have learned since the original experience. Each time we remember something, we are essentially creating a new version of that memory, and this new version can incorporate errors or distortions. If we then remember this altered version in the future, the errors become further entrenched, and the memory can drift increasingly far from the original experience. Another important concept is source monitoring, which refers to our ability to remember where a piece of information came from. Sometimes we remember information accurately but forget its source, leading us to believe we experienced something firsthand when we actually heard about it from someone else, saw it in a movie, or read it in a book. This can create false memories that feel entirely genuine because the content of the memory is accurate, even though our recollection of how we acquired that information is wrong. In the context of the Mandela effect, source monitoring errors might explain why people remember fictional events or details as if they were real. If you heard someone say, "Luke, I am your father," in a parody or reference to Star Wars, you might later misattribute that quotation to the original film, especially if you saw the actual movie many years ago and your memory of it has faded. The concept of schemas and expectations also plays a crucial role in memory distortion. Schemas are mental frameworks that help us organize and interpret information based on our prior knowledge and experiences. When we encounter new information, we automatically fit it into our existing schemas, sometimes distorting the actual details to make them conform to what we expect. For example, wealthy tycoon characters in popular culture often wear monocles, top hats, and carry canes. When we see the Monopoly man who embodies the wealthy tycoon archetype, our schema for such characters might lead us to remember him as wearing a monocle, even though he does not, because that detail fits our expectations. Similarly, when someone announces they have something important to reveal, we often expect them to address the listener by name for emphasis, which might explain why so many people remember Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father," rather than just, "No, I am your father." Confabulation is another relevant psychological phenomenon where the brain fills in gaps in memory with fabricated information that feels real. This is not the same as lying, as the person genuinely believes the false memory is accurate. Confabulation often occurs when we are trying to remember something but cannot quite recall all the details. Rather than admitting we do not remember, our brains unconsciously create plausible details to complete the memory. Over time, these fabricated details become integrated into our memory of the event, and we cannot distinguish them from genuine recollections. In group settings, confabulation can be reinforced when others validate our false memories, making them seem even more real. The phenomenon of social contagion of memory is particularly relevant to understanding the Mandela effect. When people discuss their memories with others, they can inadvertently influence each other's recollections. If someone confidently states a false memory, others might begin to doubt their own accurate memories and eventually adopt the false version. This is especially likely to occur when the false memory is stated by multiple people or by someone perceived as knowledgeable. On internet forums and social media, where Mandela effect examples are widely discussed, this social contagion can occur on a massive scale. Someone might read about an example they had never considered before, such as the Berenstain Bears spelling, and suddenly remember it being spelled differently, even though they might not have thought about the books in decades. Priming and suggestion also contribute to false memory formation. If someone asks you, "Do you remember when Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s?" the question itself contains a suggestion that can influence your memory. Even if you had no prior false memory of this event, the suggestion might create one, especially if your actual memory of the timeline is vague or uncertain. This is why leading questions are problematic in legal settings and why many Mandela effect discussions may actually be creating or reinforcing the very false memories they claim to be documenting. When people read lists of Mandela effect examples, they are being primed to remember things in certain ways, which can generate false memories in individuals who might not have had them otherwise. The role of popular culture and media repetition cannot be overstated in understanding many Mandela effect examples. Phrases from movies and television shows are often misquoted or altered when they are referenced in other media, and these altered versions can become more familiar than the originals. The misquoted version of Luke, "I am your father," has been used in countless parodies, references, and discussions of Star Wars, to the point where many people have encountered this incorrect version far more often than they have seen the actual scene from the movie. Similarly, the phrase "mirror, mirror on the wall" may be more culturally prevalent than the actual Disney version because it appears in various adaptations and retellings of the Snow White story. Through repeated exposure to these altered versions, our memories can be overwritten, and we come to believe that the culturally prevalent version is the original. Childhood memories are particularly susceptible to distortion and false memory formation, which is relevant because many Mandela effect examples involve things people remember from childhood, such as the Berenstain Bears books or the Sinbad Genie movie. Memories formed in childhood are less reliable than those formed in adulthood because children's brains are still developing. Their attention to detail is often limited, and their ability to distinguish between imagination and reality is not fully formed. Additionally, the passage of many years between the original experience and the later recollection provides ample opportunity for the memory to be altered by subsequent experiences, discussions, and exposure to related media. A child who read Berenstain Bears books in the 1970s might, decades later, remember the spelling incorrectly because they have encountered various words ending in Stein much more frequently than words ending in Stain, and their brain has normalized the name to fit this more common pattern. The internet has played a crucial role in amplifying awareness of the Mandela effect and in creating communities where these experiences are shared and validated. Before the internet era, someone who misremembered a detail might simply be corrected and move on, perhaps feeling slightly embarrassed about their error. Now, that same person can go online and find thousands of others who share the exact same false memory, which creates a powerful sense of validation and can make the false memory feel even more real. The very act of finding a community that shares your misremembering can reinforce the belief that something more significant than simple memory error is occurring. This communal aspect has transformed what might have been isolated instances of false memory into a cultural phenomenon with its own terminology, dedicated websites, and passionate adherents. Online discussions of the Mandela effect often display certain patterns that are worth examining. When someone shares an example of a supposed Mandela effect, responses typically fall into several categories. Some people express amazement and confirm that they too remember things the wrong way. Others state that they remember things correctly and are not experiencing the effect. Still others suggest possible explanations for the false memory, such as confusion with similar items or cultural misquotes. Interestingly, there is often resistance to these conventional explanations from those who experience the false memory strongly. They may insist that no amount of psychological or logical explanation can account for the vividness and certainty of their recollection, sometimes suggesting that those who remember correctly are the ones who have somehow shifted realities or had their memories altered. This brings us to the more speculative explanations for the Mandela effect, the ones that propose extraordinary causes rather than conventional psychological processes. Some proponents of these theories suggest that the Mandela effect is evidence of parallel universes or alternate realities. According to this view, our universe is just one of many, and in these other universes, events unfold differently. The Berenstain Bears might be spelled Berenstein in another reality, or Nelson Mandela might have died in prison, or any number of other variations might exist. Those who experience the Mandela effect, according to this theory, somehow have memories from these alternate realities, perhaps because they have shifted from one universe to another without realizing it. The mechanism for such a shift is never clearly explained, nor is it clear why only certain memories would be affected while the vast majority remain consistent with current reality. Another speculative explanation involves the concept of timeline changes or reality edits. Some suggest that powerful entities, advanced technologies, or cosmic events have the ability to alter the past. And when these changes occur, most evidence is updated to reflect the new timeline, but human memories sometimes retain traces of the original version. This idea has been popularized in various science fiction stories and has a certain appeal because it offers an explanation for why documentary evidence always seems to support the current version of reality, while personal memories sometimes suggest something different. However, this explanation requires accepting that massive changes can be made to reality in ways that conveniently leave almost no physical evidence but do leave scattered human memories, which raises numerous logical problems. Some who advocate for extraordinary explanations of the Mandela effect point to quantum mechanics, particularly the many worlds interpretation, as a possible scientific basis for their theories. The many worlds interpretation, proposed by physicist Hugh Everett in 1957, suggests that all possible outcomes of quantum events actually occur, each in its own separate universe. When a quantum event could go one way or another, the universe splits into two versions, with one outcome occurring in each version. While this is a legitimate interpretation of quantum mechanics discussed by physicists, extending it to explain the Mandela effect requires making several unsupported leaps. There is no evidence that human consciousness can perceive or retain memories across these quantum branches, nor is there any mechanism by which a person could shift from one branch to another while maintaining memories from the original branch. Additionally, the Mandela effect involves macroscopic events and objects like movie quotes and brand spellings, not quantum-level phenomena, so applying quantum mechanics at this scale is not supported by our understanding of physics. The appeal of these extraordinary explanations is understandable. Discovering that you have misremembered something can be unsettling, especially when you remember it vividly and with great confidence. It can feel more comfortable to believe that reality has somehow changed rather than accepting that your memory is fallible. Additionally, extraordinary explanations are more exciting and offer a sense of being privy to hidden truths or cosmic mysteries. They can create a sense of community among those who share these beliefs and provide an interesting narrative that makes everyday life seem more mysterious and significant. However, the principle of Occam's razor suggests that when multiple explanations are available for a phenomenon, we should prefer the simpler explanation that requires fewer unsupported assumptions. In the case of the Mandela effect, well-established principles of psychology and neuroscience can fully account for the phenomenon without requiring parallel universes, timeline shifts, or quantum consciousness effects. Scientific studies of false memory formation have repeatedly demonstrated that human memory is highly susceptible to distortion and that false memories can be created through various means. In landmark experiments by researcher Elizabeth Loftus and others, participants have been led to develop false memories of events that never occurred, including detailed recollections of getting lost in a shopping mall as a child or meeting Bugs Bunny at Disneyland, despite the fact that Bugs Bunny is a Warner Brothers character who would never appear at a Disney property. These studies show that false memories are not only possible but relatively easy to create under the right conditions, and that people can be absolutely certain of memories that are completely fabricated. If false memories can be created experimentally in controlled settings, it is entirely plausible that they can arise naturally through the normal processes of memory reconstruction, social influence, and cultural transmission. The Mandela effect has also been examined from the perspective of cognitive biases, the systematic patterns of deviation from rational judgment that affect our thinking. Confirmation bias, the tendency to search for and interpret information in ways that confirm our pre-existing beliefs, is particularly relevant. Once someone becomes convinced that they are experiencing a Mandela effect, they may begin looking for more examples and interpreting ambiguous memories as further evidence of the phenomenon, while dismissing conventional explanations or examples where their memory is accurate. The availability heuristic, which leads us to overestimate the likelihood of events that are easy to recall, might make dramatic false memories seem more significant than they actually are. If you can easily remember several examples of things you supposedly misremember, you might conclude that the Mandela effect is a widespread and significant phenomenon, even though these few examples represent a tiny fraction of all the information you remember correctly every day. The bandwagon effect, where people adopt beliefs or behaviors because others are doing so, certainly plays a role in the spread of Mandela effect examples. As more people discuss and share these experiences online, others may feel compelled to examine their own memories for similar discrepancies, and the social pressure to conform might lead them to adopt false memories that align with what the group reports. This does not mean people are consciously lying. Rather, the social environment can genuinely influence what we remember and how certain we feel about those memories. The power of suggestion is strong, and when combined with the fallibility of human memory, it can create widespread false memories that feel completely authentic. Despite all the conventional explanations available, many people who experience the Mandela effect remain convinced that something more extraordinary is occurring. They point to the vividness and emotional intensity of their memories as evidence that these cannot simply be errors. They describe remembering specific details, such as exactly where they were when they saw a particular movie scene or how they reacted when they heard about a celebrity's death, and they find it inconceivable that such detailed memories could be fabricated. However, research has consistently shown that the vividness and emotional intensity of a memory are poor indicators of its accuracy. False memories can be just as detailed, vivid, and emotionally charged as accurate ones, and our confidence in a memory's accuracy does not correlate well with whether it is actually true. We can be absolutely certain of things that never happened and unsure about things that definitely did occur. The cultural impact of the Mandela effect has extended beyond internet forums and has influenced various forms of media and entertainment. Television shows have featured episodes exploring the concept. YouTube channels have dedicated countless videos to discussing examples and theories, and the phenomenon has been referenced in podcasts, books, and even academic discussions of false memory. This widespread attention has both increased awareness of how fallible memory can be and, somewhat paradoxically, reinforced the sense among some that the Mandela effect represents something genuinely mysterious or unexplained. The more the topic is discussed and the more people share their experiences, the more normalized the idea becomes that these collective false memories might indicate something beyond ordinary psychological processes. There is something deeply human about the Mandela effect and our response to it. We like to believe that our memories are reliable, that our subjective experiences are valid, and that we can trust our own minds to give us accurate information about the world. Discovering that we have misremembered something, especially when we were very confident in that memory, can be disconcerting and can challenge our sense of self. It is perhaps not surprising that some people prefer explanations that preserve the validity of their memories by suggesting that reality has changed rather than accepting that their recollection was simply wrong. This preference reflects a natural human desire for our internal experiences to be validated and for the world to make sense in ways that align with our perceptions. At the same time, the Mandela effect has sparked valuable discussions about the nature of memory and has increased public awareness of how memory actually works. Many people have limited understanding of memory's reconstructive nature and its vulnerability to distortion, and the popularity of the Mandela effect has created opportunities for psychologists and neuroscientists to educate the public about these important concepts. If the phenomenon encourages more people to think critically about their memories and to understand the limitations of human cognition, that represents a positive outcome, even if the more sensational explanations for the effect are not supported by evidence. As we approach the end of our exploration, it is worth reflecting on what we have learned. The Mandela effect, at its core, is a fascinating demonstration of how human memory works and how groups of people can share similar false memories for explicable reasons. The examples we have examined, from misquoted movie lines to misremembered brand logos to false memories of celebrity deaths, can all be understood through established principles of psychology and cognitive science. False memories form through reconstructive memory processes, source monitoring errors, schema-driven expectations, social contagion, priming and suggestion, cultural transmission of misinformation, and the particular vulnerabilities of childhood memories. The internet and social media have amplified these effects by creating communities where false memories are shared and validated, making them seem more significant and widespread than they might otherwise appear. The more speculative explanations involving parallel universes, timeline shifts, or quantum effects, while imaginative and intriguing, are not necessary to account for the phenomenon and require accepting numerous unsupported assumptions about the nature of reality, consciousness, and memory. This does not mean we should dismiss the experiences of those who encounter the Mandela effect. Their memories feel genuine to them, and the surprise and confusion they experience upon discovering a discrepancy between memory and reality are entirely valid emotional responses. However, we can acknowledge these experiences while still recognizing that conventional scientific explanations are sufficient to account for them. The Mandela effect reminds us that reality is often different from our perception of it, and that our minds, remarkable as they are not infallible recording devices. Every memory we have is a reconstruction, influenced by countless factors, and subject to revision each time we recall it. This is not a flaw in human cognition, but rather a necessary feature of how our brains work. Perfect memory would require storing enormous amounts of information with complete fidelity, which would be cognitively expensive and probably unnecessary for survival and functioning. Instead, our brains prioritize efficiency, extracting meaning and patterns from experiences and reconstructing details as needed based on schemas and expectations. This system works remarkably well most of the time, but it occasionally produces errors, and the Mandela effect represents a particularly interesting class of such errors. As you continue to relax and perhaps drift towards sleep, consider that the Mandela effect is ultimately a reminder of both the power and the limitations of human memory. It shows us that our subjective experiences, while meaningful and important, are not always accurate reflections of objective reality. It demonstrates the profound influence that social interaction and cultural transmission have on what we remember and how we remember it. It reveals that large groups of people can share similar mistakes for understandable reasons, without requiring extraordinary explanations. And it illustrates the very human tendency to seek patterns and meaning, even in phenomena that may have straightforward explanations. The next time you encounter something that contradicts your memory, whether it is a small detail or something more significant, you might pause and consider the various factors that could have influenced your recollection. Rather than immediately assuming something mysterious has occurred, you can recognize that your brain has been doing what it evolved to do, reconstructing memories from fragments and filling in details based on expectations and prior knowledge. This understanding does not diminish the richness of your experiences or the value of your memories. Instead, it provides a more accurate and scientifically grounded perspective on how the remarkable organ inside your skull creates your subjective experience of reality. As we bring this gentle exploration to a close, rest assured that the world is still the familiar place you know, even if your memories of it are occasionally imperfect. The Mandela effect is not evidence of shifting realities or cosmic mysteries, but rather a fascinating window into the workings of human cognition. It reminds us to approach our memories with appropriate humility, to be open to correction when evidence contradicts our recollections, and to appreciate the complex processes that allow us to remember anything at all. Whether you experience the Mandela effect yourself or simply find it an interesting topic to contemplate, may this exploration have brought you some peace and perhaps some insight into the beautiful complexity of the human mind. Sleep well, dream peacefully, and know that tomorrow you will wake in the same reality you have always inhabited, even if you remember it slightly differently than it actually was. Thank you for joining this calm journey through one of the internet age's most intriguing psychological phenomena, and may your rest be deep and restorative.